Mrs. Hagedorn,
Here.
Mr. Fulham,
Present.
and Mr. Leeds is absent.
Thank you. Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None.
Thank you. Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Section 2, discussion and comments from the board. We'll start with legislative with Mr. Leeds on here. Tim, do you have anything?
I do not have anything.
All right, very good. We will move on to section 2.2, Butler Tech. Mr. Guido.
Mr. President, members of the board, thanks for having me. Just about a quick update. I don't have a whole lot of news to share. Obviously, you can just look at the parking lot and see the progress on the building out there. So that's the biggest thing that is affecting Monroe right now. I do also want to share that I did attend the National Policy Center for the ACTE, Association for Career Tech Educators in Washington. I've went to that for, 12 years now. We are there always discussing Perkins funding. Perkins funding is the legislation that provides federal funding for career tech education. And then we also talked about the Jobs Act, which is sponsored by Senator Portman here in Ohio and Senator Kane. And that's to also help career tech funding and really in post-secondary education to help loosen up the Pell Grant requirements, provide funding for certification for programs, welding, HVAC tech, EMT, that kind of thing. So we had meetings with Senator Portman, Senator Brown, Congressman Davidson. We actually had a dinner meeting with Paul Montiero, who is the deputy, what is he, the deputy something of the Department of Justice. So he is confirmed, waiting for the full vote in the House and Senate for him to actually be part of the presidential cabinet. So that was interesting to see the adversity discussions that they're having on the federal level, all the way down to schools. So it was a good meeting. So other than that, the CTSOs, the sports of career tech have begun. The state competitions have begun, and if you look online, you can see some of that. They will start their qualification for the federal competitions that they have. The good thing is that they are back online, and look to probably have some students start attending the federal. That's kind of like the World Cup of the career tech thing. That's all I have today. Anything else?
Are they having the all boards meeting this year in person?
They
I
are.
haven't seen anything.
Yeah, we don't have that out. That won't be until, that'll be later. You'll get something in there.
Okay.
I don't recall off the top of my head when, I think it's the beginning of school next year.
Okay. Very
I
good.
just wanted to add, a number of us, most of us got to tour the new facility over there for the Natural Science Center, and it is, even though it's just a skeleton right now, it's going to be a very impressive building. So I think that's exciting, not just for Monroe kids, but all of Butler County. And with it being as close as it is, I've already talked with Mr. Graff about the possibility of our kids maybe doing their academics here if they want, going over there for their labs or whatever. But it's started next school year close to be completed.
Yeah, I mean, as of today, we had a meeting, a Zoom today about update. Everything is on track. We thought ahead and ordered the steel and a lot of the wood that's going in there, so that did not put us behind and all that. And as I said on the tour, really the partnership that the Monroe Board of Education and Butler Tech has really allowed that building to be where it is today, and look forward to not only what happens at Butler Tech, but really the use and what Monroe gets out of that as well. I think we have plans, we'll see how it works out of that being somewhat of a shared space at times. If there's a community event or something, it'll be impressive. So I'm hopeful that that relationship, once the building gets open, we can see what that might look like.
I can't wait to see it when it's done. I mean, the
Yeah.
rendered drawings, I mean, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Anything else?
Great. No, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Gatto.
Mike. Yep, thank you.
Finance.
Finance. So we did have a meeting. I'm just going to make this kind of short because a lot of what we discussed at our meeting is covered in the treasurer and superintendent's report. So we did talk about additional staff and the effects it's going to have on our 5-year forecast. And it's still unfortunate that the state funding is still uncertain up until after 23. That will be 1/3 of the way uncapped by then, but we don't know what's going to happen after 2023. So we still have to wait for that. We've also been awarded $1.8 million in ESSER funds that we'll be spending in 23 and 24 on additional staffing. So that's really it, and a lot of it will be covered coming up. I don't want to
Yes.
double discuss.
Yes.
Very good. 2.4, student achievement.
Awesome. I'd like to welcome up one of our special guests we have this evening, Reagan Hudson. Stand up, Reagan. So Reagan is a 6th grade student at Monroe Elementary. Earlier this month, she wrestled her way to an Ohio Wrestling Association for Youth 12U girls state title in the 76-pound weight class. Yeah. Reagan's been wrestling for 3 years now, and she continues to show really good progress, obviously, winning tournaments, and we're excited to have a Hornet out there do her thing on the mat, so congratulations to Reagan on this awesome accomplishment, and we'll get a quick picture with Reagan. She's got her trophy from the wrestling.
And check it out, Reagan. Come show everybody, because that is awesome. Look at that. Oh, we'll come around front. Look at that eagle, everybody.
Seems really excited. All right. All right. Count on 3. 1, 2, 3. Good job. Congratulations.
Got a few things from each of the schools. So last week, a primary student, Alex Dreyer, demonstrated one of the 4 B statements, be a problem solver. So Alex was on the playground and felt some of the swings were so low to the ground that they were hard to use, basically. She wrote a note to Mrs. Giffen asking if they could be raised higher, even including a photo of herself sitting on the swings to demonstrate how low they were. Mrs. Giffen went down to her room and shared with Alex's class how proud she was for Alex being a positive ambassador for the primary building by identifying a way to make our playground better for all of our students. This week, Alex has plans to join Mrs. Giffen and Jim from our maintenance team on the playground to make sure the swings are raised to a more appropriate level. This thoughtful act demonstrates our motto, "The future starts here," as Alex was proactive in making a positive impact for herself and her classmates. So great work, Alex. From the junior high school, congratulations to 7th grade student Logan Akers for winning the Daughters of the American Revolution American History Essay Contest. Logan received a certificate, a medallion, and a check for $50. Logan's essay was about the tomb of the unknown soldier. The contest was sponsored by the Monroe chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution organization. Tremendous job, Logan. Also, congratulations to 8th grade student Ellie Ott, who qualified for the state tournament of Power of the Pen. Ellie's performance at the regional tournament on March 5th earned her a 2nd straight ticket to state. Last year, Ellie competed as a 7th grader. this year's state tournament will be held at Otterbein University on May 13th. Ellie was also the 8th grade state champion for the Daughters of the American Revolution American History Essay Contest. An outstanding achievement, so way to go, Ellie. At our high school, I want to say thank you to senior student Erin Burrier, who organized a voter registration drive for our senior and junior students. On March 17th, she assisted with the registration of 40 junior and senior students. As we all know, voting is one of the most important and fundamental rights in our country. Way to go, Erin, for taking the initiative to help others become registered voters. Also, the freshman class participated in our annual Hornet Serve Day, where they provided various forms of service to the community, while upperclassmen took the ACT and PACTs. This initiative, overseen by Mrs. Fry, Mrs. Long, and Mrs. Talbot, gives the freshman class the opportunity to give back to the community, allowing the sophomore and junior classes to focus on their testing. Throughout the day, various activities were planned and hosted, including a pancake breakfast at Mount Pleasant, a cleanup at Camp Lebanon, a luncheon for the Monroe service workers, and a cleanup around Monroe main campus. What a great initiative, and thanks to the class of 2025 for your participation. That's all I got. Yeah.
Very good. All right. MEA.
I'm here to represent MEA. The big thing I wanted to talk to you about is we would love to recognize for MEA the 9 and 6. Well, I think you got invitations, but
Are you RSVP?
Yes, I heard you. It's a fundraiser where we provide scholarships to MEA. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be 9 and 14 from both perspectives.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to section 3, recognition.
All right, thank you. I am going to, Mr. Silverman sent me something, and I want to make sure I read it. He is actually home. It's his son's birthday today. But we are recognizing the cheerleading squad tonight for some of their many, over this season, many accomplishments. So let me read this so I don't miss anything. Over the last 6 years, our cheerleading program's competition team has grown by leaps and bounds. After an initial season 6 years ago where the team just competed at the SWBL championship meet, over the last 5 seasons, the team has increased the number of competitions to their schedule and qualified for the OASSA state competition in each of those years, including, again, this past February. So at this time, I want to, if all the cheerleaders could come up front, and I'm going to introduce head coach Shannon Kelly to the podium so she can talk about the program and the season. Come on up, girls. Don't be shy.
Do you want them to stand the whole time I'm talking? Okay, that's fine. Do you guys want? There you go. I do feel better that they're up here. They're like my, wingmen. So good evening. My name is Shannon Kelly, and for those of you that may not know my background, I equally share 2 loves here at Monroe, my 4th graders and, of course, my cheerleaders. Tonight I'm going to stay on the cheer side of things, and I oversee the Monroe cheerleading program. I coach both the varsity football and basketball squads, and I head the competition squad along with assistant coach Autumn Stapleton and choreographer Kelly Krekus. I have coached in this program for 22 years. I want to personally thank you for allowing us to be here tonight and to recognize this incredible group of young ladies. The 2021-2022 varsity competition squad attended 3 in-person competitions this year. We hit an incredible routine and placed 2nd in the Southwest Buckeye League competition on February 19th at Bellbrook High School. The next day, we went to Centerville High School for the Cheer for a Cure competition, and once again, we performed what we like to call a no touchdowns routine, which in cheer world just means that we had no mistakes or falls in our tumbling. Earlier in the month of February, due to inclement weather, our in-person regional qualifier event was actually canceled, and that's how we qualify for states. So we had to submit a video of our routine, and luckily we did qualify. We headed to the OASSA Cheer and Dance Competition on February 27th at Pickerington High School North, and we competed in the Division III non-building, which was the largest division out of all the cheer and dance divisions from this year's 2022 state championships. And we placed 5th out of 16 teams. We actually brought a video of our routine for you guys to be able to see, because our big thing is a lot of people don't get to see what we do. because this, these videos are not always accessible. So here we are on the floor at Pickerington, nervous and all, but.
Before we start the video, can we get the picture and then they can sit down?
Yes, absolutely. All right, jump up there.
Look at me first, and then I'll get out of the way so parents can take pictures if they would like. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Thank you. So a lot of people get to see what we do on the sideline, but so we thought we would bring a little bit of what comp cheer is all about. There's a lot going on in this 2-minute and 13-second routine, but we hope you enjoy it. Just a little background on these ladies. There were 16 student athletes from grades 9 through 12. All 16 of them cheered for football sideline, and 14 of them were also basketball sideline cheerleaders, so doubling up is hard to do. In fact, on the Saturday of our league competition,
8 of them competed in the morning, and then we went out to Princeton High School for the tournament game for the varsity basketball team. So, and we can't help but say, too, that we held and we're very proud of it, held the highest overall team GPA for all the winter sports. So we're very, very proud of that. So before I do introduce all the names of the girls, I just wanted to thank all of you and, of course, our high school administrators, Mr. Prohaska, Mr. Creamer, Eric Silverman, and the whole athletic department, and then, of course, our Monroe community for all of their support. So freshmen Brooklyn Baker, Carissa Pitch, Kendall Bowen, and Ava Vasquez. And you can stand if you're here, ladies. Sophomores Jenna Ard, Caroline Routson, Jocelyn Goforth, Bailey Long, and Emma Kelly. Juniors Maria McGuire, Reagan Halsey, Aspen Clements, Ellie Fink, Carly Hammond, Gracie Richter, and we had one senior, Kayla Byerline. She's not here tonight, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Again, great job, ladies. I know the hours and hours of practice you guys put in, and it sounds like it was all well worth it this year. So congratulations.
I know.
I thought we were supposed to yell.
I know. All right, moving on to section 4, comments from the public. Seeing that we have a comment from the public, I will read the following statement for the record. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public may participate during the comments from the public or when recognized by the board president or superintendent. Those wishing to address the board must fill out request forms provided at the meetings. These should be submitted to the treasurer before the meeting begins. Persons addressing the board must give his or her name and address, and there will be a 3-minute limit for addressing the board. Such requests shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the board president. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period of public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. Upon request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a disabled person to be able to participate in this activity. Executive sessions may be proposed at any time during the meeting by any board member for any purpose authorized by law, and per policy 0166, public complaints about the district personnel may be heard in executive session. So that being said, our one comment, we have Megan Snyder.
Megan.
Hi.
If you'll state your name and address before you begin, and then I'll start the timer after you state.
Can I just say that I was told I would get 5 minutes from the superintendent?
No, because
Because I don't think I can get this done in 3 minutes, I'll be honest with you. I'll do my best,
Yeah,
but please don't cut me off.
well, you get 3 minutes.
I'll try.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Some of you guys know that I'm here over anti-bullying. It is a very serious thing. I wrote something, so I'm going to try to hurry, okay? Okay. And I'm really nervous, so sorry, guys.
Don't be nervous.
Yeah. Hey, you're just talking
I
about
don't
us.
do public speaking. I don't lie to you. This is my first time.
You're good.
I am a single mother of 3 young boys. My youngest started kindergarten this year. I fought in court for almost 5 years to bring my kids here after filing for divorce. My older 2 boys were in Franklin schools. They were harassed and bullied, and a lot of families were having the same issues, which is another reason why I wanted to move them here. Now, after speaking to so many families, I'm wondering if I made that right choice. My boys are heavier than average and have been bullied and made fun of because of their weight. Recently, it's been better, and I appreciate the teachers for keeping me in touch and updating me on how they're doing. But honestly, I'm not here for myself and my kids. I'm here for all the kids in the school district that are hurting. The parents are stressing out and feeling helpless because they do not know how to handle what their children are dealing with. Families are moving out of this district because they feel their kids aren't safe. The kids are fighting anxiety, depression, talking suicide. because they can't deal with the verbal and sometimes physical abuse that they deal with. Does it start at home with the parents? Absolutely. But what if the kid doesn't have a stable home life? What if they don't have a support system? What if the parents are always working because they can't afford to keep up with their bills and are doing this alone without anybody else? Home might be the start of the problem or the solution, but these kids come to school every day and a lot of them do not feel safe here. This should be their safe haven. As a very concerned parent, I would like to know what Monroe schools are doing and trying to prevent and stop this bullying. Is Monroe Schools offering the safety assessments and intervention training provided by the state? And what other programs are being considered or offered? Other parents have reached out to me who cannot attend this evening. They wanted me to let you know what is going on. There is a child being harassed and bullied over her parent because she's not blood related to that parent. She's being harassed and bullied, in addition to several other reasons. And she is not here tonight because she is afraid for retaliation of their daughter. A lot of these families are not here because they are scared. They are scared to come talk to you guys. Why? Why do they feel scared? They should not feel scared. There is another parent reaching out concerned for fourth graders making sexual hand gestures that they learn on social media. This parent can also be here because he has other functions with this child with a doctor appointment. And he's wondering why it's still going on. I have talked with many other parents, and they inform me that they are leaving, have left, or chose to homeschool because of the mental damage it's done to their children. Shouldn't you be concerned and investigate what is really going on in these schools? I was also told this has been going on for years, and the district has gotten worse, and they feel you do not care about their kids' well-being. Do you have any plans in place for long-term overall improvement? We have parents making sure that their kids stay off the bus because of the verbal abuse and sometimes physical abuse that they get at the bus stops and on the bus. We have kids talking about suicide because they can't handle what's going on. We have kids that are getting the crap beat out of them and are too afraid to speak up because they don't want to get worse than they already are. We have parents afraid to come forward in fear of retaliation. When is it enough? I am only one person, but we have a large community that wants to hear from you and how you want to make changes and help our kids. I strongly agree we start them young and do intervention programs, rallies, workshops for all ages. Let the kids see how truly hurtful and damaging being a victim can really be. Invite the parents to come and learn and do the intervention as well. Let's put our heads together and come up with a plan to prevent our schools from being another statistic. And mind you, I did find something that was kind of alarming. It was on one of the websites. Sorry, guys. I'm trying. Fact box, year of 2021, Ohio is ranked number 5 for school shootings. 55 school shootings were in 2021. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I just had a parent reach out literally as I'm sitting here in this room because she can't come in here and talk to you guys because she's afraid. They are going to be moving school districts. They don't want retaliation on their kids. And I don't want retaliation on my kids. But they're not really being bullied. And I'm not dealing with just Monroe. I'm dealing with everywhere. I live in Monroe. I'm happily here. My family has graduated here. My parents have went to school and graduated here. I want to do something for my kids to say they went to the same school as their family. I didn't go here. I went to a different school. But still, I mean, it's not just you guys. It's everywhere. And we, all parents, have a right to know what you guys are doing and wanting to help our kids. Help them feel safe.
Done?
So what do I do now?
Are you finished?
I think so.
All right. Mrs. Knight, you can stay there or sit down.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You guys want to sit down? I don't
No, you're
care.
fine.
It doesn't matter, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
Thank you.
Okay.
As Mrs. Snyder and I met earlier last week, and we had a similar discussion, and I just want to, in response, I want to start by saying we have great kids here in Monroe, and I just want to say that again. We have some great kids here in Monroe. Last week, I was walking through the hall, and a substitute teacher stopped me who said they substitute teach in all over Butler and Warren County, and he said his favorite place is Monroe because we have such great, great kids. I've shared this with a number of people. My own two daughters who are in a different school district next year, I'm bringing them here because I am confident in what a great place this is. Now, with all that being said, I do want to let you know, we are in the business of working with kids. Kids make mistakes every day, and I shared this with you, Mrs. Snyder. Kids do things, and kids can be very mean. And yes, there are instances of bullying that go on, not just in this school, the high school, junior high, even, younger kids. It happens. And when it happens, I am very confident in our administration that they act swiftly and they do what they need to do to intervene and make a stop. Are they always successful? Immediately, no, but that doesn't mean they're not going to continue to work to make sure whoever is feeling afraid or bullied, they're going to do what they can to make sure they feel comfortable coming to school. I would say that when we are dealing with instances of kids making mistakes or even bullying incidents, the two biggest frustrations with parents are that they want to know immediately what happened to the other student. And as we've shared before, legally we cannot share the consequences of what happened to the other student. But I do want to assure you that when there is something and we are aware of it, we will do whatever we can to make sure that we correct that behavior and that those students are dealt with. The other thing, some people say they shouldn't be here, ever. Again, well, we are a public school, and even if I impose a full expulsion on the student, the maximum I can remove a student is 80 days. But those are all consequences. You talked about what are we doing
Prevention programs and stuff.
to keep kids here and keep kids safe. I have to say I've not been in a school district where they have so many different programs, and I'm not going to list everyone, we'll be here all night, but there are programs at every level where the administrators and teachers have proactive, positive behavior support systems in place to reward kids for good behavior and for kids to continually learn how to be responsible, respectful students and eventually adults. Now, again, do kids make mistakes along the way? Absolutely, they're kids. I know my own kids make mistakes every day, so that's part of growing up. But again, we do everything we can. You shared your own children since they've been in Monroe. Although it hasn't been super smooth, you've been very happy with the support they've received from their teachers. The last thing I want to share is if we all think back to when we were in school and everybody had somebody that picked on them. Yeah, I remember my 8th grade year distinctly. When I left English class, I went the long way to my next period class because I wanted to avoid a kid. The biggest difference today is that when they leave school, it's not over because of these things. And the social media that goes on all day long, it is hard for these kids to get away. Mm-hmm. So I actually have been looking at and working with some other superintendents in the area of working on a social media awareness program, not with just students, but with parents, to educate their parents on what these kids are doing. We met with the Warren County juvenile prosecutor last week, and he talked about all of the problems that he sees in court. Most of them are related back to something that has started with these things. So what I'm asking right now is a favor for parents: check your kids' phones. Even when you think you have great kids, I check my kids' phones. My wife checks our daughter's phones to make sure that they are not doing something that they're not supposed to do. So, and the last thing I want to say is that if you are having an issue and you don't feel like it's being resolved, talk to the teacher. If you still don't feel like it's being resolved, talk to the principal, talk to the assistant principal, talk to the counselor. And if any, you referred to a number of people, none of them have reached out to me. As I shared with you, I have an open door. Email me, call me. I sat down and met with you. I'm happy to do that with anybody. We don't want one kid coming to school that feels afraid to be here. So I have a lot of confidence in the staff that they will do everything they can to make sure those kids feel comfortable here in the school. So, we're not perfect. Society's not perfect. If you watched the Oscars last night, you know that. But I tell you, it's, kids have to deal with a lot today, and so we need to continually get better and improve on it and make sure that they're coming to school and feeling safe.
The only thing I will add is thank you for coming forward and speaking. The only thing I want to address is the fear of repercussion from us, all right? I've been on the board for 7
It's
years.
other kids, not you guys.
Okay.
They're
Well,
scared
you
for
said
the
they were
other kids.
fearful of coming to talk to us.
The kids are scared, and the parents are like, they're begging their parents, like, Mom, don't go in front of here.
Gotcha.
But they have no problem, like, because I have a Facebook group, Stop the Bullying on Facebook, like I told him. I also run a radio show with Rooster Radio, podcasting, stand up, speak out, and helping voice other stories and stuff. So they're coming to me privately because they're asking me to tell their story, but try to keep it as confidential and low-key because they don't want it out, because they're getting worse than what you guys are apparently seeing, and that's scary. They don't feel safe, not from the staff, but go to the bathroom and watch out, get on the school bus, you get off the bus stop, you go home, social media, it's getting crazy.
So what I will say is, I've been on the board for 7 years, and Tim's been on a little bit longer. We have AJ and Debbie that are newer to the board, but one thing I pride ourselves on as a board, ever since I've been on it, is we're pretty an open book. We're easily accessible, and the one thing I will say is get the message out to all the parents that you're speaking to.
Right.
I'll echo what Robert said. If they don't know the proper protocol of contacting their teacher, and if that doesn't work, the school principal and then the superintendent, let them know that, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know that.
And nothing's getting done. They go to teachers, they go to the principal, they go to the guidance counselor. Unfortunately, somebody said they went to you and you passed it to Nancy Scott and just blew it off. I mean, I'm hearing this from other parents. I'm not, and like I said, I'm brand new to the district, so I don't want to come up here and start a bunch of crap, because I don't want to do that. I want to work with you guys. But I feel like an advocate, like you had said, me being the advocate of anti-bullying, I feel like they're here watching right now. Some of them have told me that they're watching me. I wish I could be there. I'm rooting you on. I'm sure there's people in the audience that are scared to say something, but they want you guys to hear, it's serious, and it's getting very serious, and it's mental health. It's damaging on these kids, and they go into adulthood screwed up in the head. And that's why I said, if we can do programs, interventions, get all of us parents involved in working with these kids. We want to do this as a community. That's all we ask. And we want to help.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it.
And I've got 12 more years, hopefully, with this school district.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now moving on to section 5, presentations.
All right, at this time, Amy, you are up. For those of you that don't know, Amy is our transportation director, who I have been in a number of districts and worked with a number of transportation directors, and we've got the best one. And that's the honest truth.
Thank you, and thank you, Board, for allowing me to present to you today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our opt-in for transportation program that we're doing for next year. This is a change from what we have done in the past. In the past, we routed for everyone. Every student in the district that lived in a bus area, and in this case, it's every student. Every student was routed on a bus regardless of whether they were going to ride or not, because we really had no way to gauge what a family's choice was going to be. So this year, families are going to be able to choose whether or not they receive transportation. And the biggest reason for that is so that we can have accurate data, and so that we can also make some efficiency changes to the routes, because we're not routing for every student. Parents will be going onto the OneView parent portal, and selecting opt-in or opt-out. And at that point, then it will route them to the transportation form so that they can let us know what their choices are for the year as far as babysitter's home or their home address. It's not going to change as far as one stop in the morning and one stop in the afternoon. And I have to say that change was made this year, I believe, or last year. It is one of the best changes we've made, is besides not going into cul-de-sacs, as far as safety goes. When they have one stop in the morning and one stop in the afternoon, we know exactly where that student is supposed to go at the end of the day. Taking them home is the biggest risk. We take them exactly where the parent's expecting them without a child having to remember, where do I go today? Do I go to the babysitter's or do I go home? So that will not change. Also, it's going to be very important, the drivers are going to know right away who to expect on that bus. Because right now, when we route everyone, they don't know if they should expect a student at the stop or not. So those are the biggest reasons. New enrollments will be routed within 7 days after the opt-in period. Okay, this is going to replace the routing for all students. And some students, when we routed them, they never once would appear on the bus. Some would wait till after sports, which was fine. But this way, I think it'll solve some of our issues that we've had. We're going to have focused routing, and by that, we should improve route timing. Right now, with a student that's not riding, after time goes by, the bus driver no longer stops, and it makes them early to the future stops. So this should really help with that. One of the other things that we really want to accomplish with this is capacity balancing, so that we can take a route that may not have as many kids as we had anticipated and move them to help out with some of the longer routes so that we can shorten ride time for the students whenever we can. All right, in April, we're going to finalize the tech platform. I've already been working with Tony Thornton, and he's been working with OneView to get that set up. So we'll finalize the tech platform. There's going to be parent communications going out in several ways. We've been utilizing the robocall system when we have an issue to pass out to parents. For example, when we had a bus breakdown one time, we sent out the robocall so that they would know the bus was going to be late. So we've been utilizing that platform. We will use social media, and we'll work with Jesse and the board office to get that message out. Also, our bus tracker app allows us to push notifications to parents. And that's a really simple one. It goes directly to their email. In May, we'll send out reminder communications regarding the opt-in program. The window will be closed the third week of May, and then we will begin routing at that time. During the enrollment or the opt-in period, we'll be sending weekly reminders to parents. I'll be getting a report from IT to let us know who has gone in and opted in or out. If they have not responded at all, then that's who we will target for the reminder messages. The opt-in period, as I said, closes the third week in May, which is when school is still open. So we'll actually be starting the routing for next year during the last week of school. We are required now to get our bus plan to the non-pub schools by June 1st. So that's one of the reasons that we had to start the opt-in period so early. Normally, we would take the whole summer to route. And in August, when the we will use an app and the site to direct parents to the bus tracker app to get the bus information. We have done this the last 2 years, but this last year we also did not mail out cards. And that was the first time we had done that. It was very successful. Even though they didn't get a postcard in the mail, we were able to route parents to the bus tracker app so that they could get their bus stop information in times. So it worked out very well. So some of the questions that may come up are, what do I do if I opted out but I need transportation later? That won't be any problem. Parents can just go into the OneView portal and change their option and then go to the transportation form. The transportation form is in there, and that's how they will also change any of their transportation details. Partway through the year, if they decide that they're going to use a babysitter rather than home or vice versa, they can go in and make those changes. And that is not a change. Really, the only change that we're making is that they have to select opt-in or opt-out along with the timing period of it being earlier. So in moving to this, I do anticipate that we will be able to find some efficiencies in the routing, especially in capacity balancing, so that we can get some of the lighter loads balanced with some of the buses that are pretty full. Okay. Are there any questions?
No, I know when Robert first discussed this, I had a conversation, he brought it up a couple months ago, and I thought it was a great idea, just for efficiency purposes. I think it'll help your department out and all the bus drivers out tremendously. That way they know who they're supposed to have on the bus and who they're not supposed to have on the bus, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to tell you while I'm here, I've been in transportation for over 30 years, as a driver, as a dispatcher, and as a manager, both with Peterman and a company prior to that in Michigan. And I have to tell you, this is the best district I've ever worked with. And I am not just saying that because of the compliment from Robert. We get support from our administrators, which really helps the drivers. The drivers don't choose routes every year. They stay on the same route from year to year, and I think that's one of the things that really helps our department be as successful as it is. So.
Yeah, we've got some great drivers. For some reason, kids, when they get on the bus, some of them lose their minds, and so we have to deal with some issues on the bus from time to time, but they do a great job with that. The other thing I do want to say, I went through the opt-in process where we switched over to in a different district, and a lot of parents were nervous and thinking, why are they taking transportation away? I want to say that everybody that wants transportation and busing both ways can still have it. We are just trying to make it more efficient. And like a perfect example, I think I shared this the last time, like my own two daughters, they only ride home in the evenings because I drop them off on my way to work every morning, so they did not route them for the morning, so I'm sure that cut down on the route time for when they were doing that initially. They only ride in the afternoons. So, again, if we understand that parents' circumstances change, jobs change, daycares change, if you need to, you opted out and now you've gotten a new job where they're going to have to ride the bus every day, we understand that. Contact transportation and they'll help you get it routed so we can make those changes. So, thanks again, Amy.
Thank you.
I do have one question, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I probably know the answer, but I just want to ask, like, every year, do you revisit where the bus stops are located? Because I know some neighborhoods have more of a straightaway where buses stop at every, like, 2 houses or 3 houses to kind of consolidate the actual bus stops.
We will be looking at that more this year than we have in the past.
Okay.
Where that occurs a lot of times is for the kindergarten students. Obviously, we want every stop to be safe, but the little ones are the more unpredictable ones when you let them off the bus.
Very understandable.
Yeah, so we will be looking at that more.
Okay.
Especially for the older grades.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thanks for
Okay.
everything you guys do. It's, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 5.2.
Next up, Mrs. Long is going to introduce, she's going to talk about a textbook adoption.
Good evening. So tonight, Jordan and I are going to talk to you about this grade 7 through 12 textbook adoption. We are recommending Study Sync as our new adoption. So can we go to the next slide? Committee member Sam Fry was supposed to help with the presentation tonight, but she has a little one that's sick at home, so she's not here this evening. So Jordan is going to fill in and take over her slides. But also on top of this, the presenters, all the high school 9 through 12 teachers were involved when we discussed this, and junior high also was involved, the other teachers. So it's not just the 3 of us, it was the whole group. So in the next slide, we'll just quickly go over what we're going to go through. Quick timeline, highlights, high school highlights, junior high highlights. I'll tell you about the cost, and then we'll do a wrap-up real quick, okay? And for AJ and Debbie, typically what we do is do the presentation, then there's, at the next board meeting, it'll be on for a vote whether or not we're allowed to purchase. Okay. So real quick, research and adoption timeline. We started this in fall of 2020. So it has taken us quite a while. We looked at a couple of different things. And we have ended up on the next slide. I'm not going to read all those to you. We've ended up where we are here today with the presentation. And then on the 28th, the board will vote, and then on the 22nd, we'll have hopefully our first professional development for the teachers so that they can get a little bit more used to the program, and then while they're working on it over the summer, that'll help them out a lot. So I think now I'm going to turn it over to Jordan.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm going to go over just some highlights of the program. I'll go ahead and do junior high and high school, but if you want to go ahead to the next slide. I won't read all of this to you, but these were some of the big highlights that we noticed as teachers when we started looking into this program. It's very rigorous. It's very engaging for students. There's a lot of different moving parts and pieces, so it caters to a lot of different learners. It is vertically aligned, and that's probably my favorite part, is that from 7th grade to 12th grade, they're going to have the same core curriculum, different content, but same curriculum. It has very rich, diverse text, anything from Adventures of Tom Sawyer, which I'm sure all of us read at some point, all the way up to more current text, which is really nice. Technology is integrated, and it's been awesome working with Andrea, figuring out how we're going to use technology with the program, and it also offers a lot of resources for our ELL students, which was one of the major selling points for us as teachers. Thank you. So it has something called Study Sync, Sync Blasts, which is something we wanted to highlight. These are quick little questions that you can pose to students every day. But the thing is, they have to respond in only 140 characters, so it's kind of like a tweet. So familiar to them. It encourages them to think critically about things taking place in the world now. So it's real world content, things that are relevant, and it's very engaging for the students. All right, so you can go on to the next one. These are some high school highlights that Sam put on here. She said that it blends contemporary and classic literature, so kind of like I said, we've got relevant content as well as some things from the past. It has embedded skills in all of the lessons, vocab, research, grammar, and it's directly built into all of the units, which is really nice. It builds both ELL language acquisition and reading comprehension. It has a variety of assessments, formative, summative. We can do quick ones. It's got end-of-unit assessments. And then for high school, it develops their research, writing, and critical thinking skills. So all things that we look for. At the junior high, we love the digital access of this. Our kids are one-to-one. We're really trying to take advantage of that, and this program lends itself really well to that. It's very inclusive. It can be translated into 9 different languages, so not only Spanish, which is really, really nice. It has scaffolding for all of our teachers. It's embedded throughout. Has Study Sync TV, which really caters to our visual learners. So those skills that I was talking about that are embedded, they each come with a video also, which is really nice. Great for our ELL students. The text is very diverse. It's still very relevant. Also has embedded skill lessons. It's very collaborative. It encourages kids to work together, do things like peer review for their writing, and writing is integrated into the program. So going to a bell and a half next year, this will really give us enough time to do both reading and writing on a daily basis, which is really nice.
Okay, so the cost, scroll down to the next one. So like Jordan was saying, it's very flexible. So you can get digital and print materials. And this, we're looking at the 6 years. That's usually more cost effective if we do the 6 years. And plus, you have to remember too, it takes the teachers a year to 2 years to really get used to it. So we don't want to say, okay, 4 years and we're done. So we stretch that, like the stretching out to the 6 years. But 7th grade right now, so I have the prices after each grade. 7th grade's wanting to go with digital and print. 8th grade is going to go with digital only. Then, and you can see the prices attached to that. Grades 9 to 12 is also doing digital only. And then they want to, each school, they're going to have a variety of different ways to purchase their novels. Junior high is going to purchase 1 novel per student for grades 7 and 8, and that's an estimated cost because they were still working on their titles, which one they were going to choose. And then high school is going to do 1 novel for English 4, and their other novels are going to be purchased with student fees. And the reason they're purchasing them with student fees is because the students, they said most of the students like to have their own book, write in their own book, and be able to highlight, take notes, and do those types of things. So that's why they decided to go with the student fees. So at this point, our total adoption cost would be $125,135.90. So if, I think you want to do just a wrap up, and then we'll see if you have any questions.
All right. So these are our main goals of the program. Obviously, encouraging our kids to collaborate with one another and work together. Goal setting for not only the teachers, but also for the students. Inclusivity, this truly can include all of our students, and encouraging student growth. So, any questions?
Either one of us?
I just wondered if the response in the 140 characters, are they encouraged to use punctuation? Because my children yell at me all the time and say, Dad, don't use punctuation in texts. But both of my parents were high school English teachers, and I can't help myself.
Yeah, no, definitely includes punctuation, capitalization, that's a non-negotiable.
So the only question I had was kind of around the devices that they can use to respond to those. Obviously, is this, it sounds like it could be an app on a phone as well, but obviously not every student has a phone, so it's cross-device, I would imagine. But is there any concerns about what device they're on and when or anything like that, or do they have, does it all function the same way regardless, that kind of stuff?
It does, yeah, and I know I can only speak for the junior high, but they'll be using it just on their Chromebooks.
Okay.
We don't really have like iPads or things available to use, but it's nice that if they're home, they do have that option.
And
they can get on it on their phone.
Every student is issued a Chromebook, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is a McGraw-Hill product, and they do have, McGraw-Hill does have a mobile app. And we use McGraw-Hill for the high school now for math, and I know that some kids do use the mobile app at home.
Are those
on
two
their
different?
phones.
Are those two different platforms though? Two different logins, or can they log in?
All one.
Okay, cool.
Very good. Jody, is the $125,000, is that a one-time cost, or is that a continuing
That's for the
cost?
6 years.
Just a one-time?
Total for
Yeah,
the 6
for
years.
6 years.
Is it paid at once though, up front? Okay.
Yes.
There's nothing more to update the digital license
No.
or anything like that? Okay.
And you know, another nice thing about this, we did not bring this up, but they continuously add to this as well. So they will get updated, I mean, besides the blasts, which are the real-world application type readings, they add new modules, new lessons, that type of thing, and we'll have access to those over the 6 years.
So it's not just like the 6th edition, but we get like 7th, 8th, 9th kind of thing? That's really
That
cool.
is such a positive move in the right direction with programs with different series.
So with that, I know the 7th grade, they wanted the print and the digital, right? So does that print also get updated alongside the digital stuff as well?
So my guess is no, not, well, so every year they'll get a new book. That is a really good question, and we can ask the rep that, but the digital will definitely be updated. So once we order that work text, because nowadays they don't have textbooks, they have a work text, so they write in the book. So that will come at the same time every year. So I don't know if they do new printings. I can check on that.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
I just have a slight, I don't know if it's a concern or not, where, Tim had said 7th grade was getting the print and digital. What if the upper grades, if there's students that want a print?
You can print it off the website.
They
Yep.
can?
Yep.
Okay. Because that's a concern, like maybe if you don't want to always be reading on
Absolutely.
your Chromebook,
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of time on a computer. that-
Who's responsible for that printing? The student at home, or can they print them at
Teachers.
school?
The teachers? Okay.
Yeah.
And they will, so they can print a PDF of the excerpts of the book. So I know the high school teachers have talked about that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I think they are going to print some things off, because they did talk about some kids just want to close their Chromebook sometime and read on a piece of paper.
Right, you know, and then highlight and maybe go back
Yep.
later to review and write on the edges and things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did make sure that we were able to do that.
Yeah, that was, I
before
think,
we-
the biggest reason why upper grades didn't choose to have the work text, because we could print it off.
Okay, yeah, that was my concern. I was like, oh, only 7th grade, like what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with the digital one, can you, like, does each student have like a copy on their Chromebook? And are they able to take notes or highlight on the inside? That's really cool.
Yep, yep, they can annotate right there on it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
A lot of neat features.
Yeah, that's
So
wonderful.
does this diminish some writing though that goes on in a typical print?
No, it
solution, or-
actually increases the amount of writing, especially next year when we go to a bell and a half, so it'll be an hour and 15 minutes instead of just 45 minutes. Right now, it's really hard to get that reading and writing in that 45 minutes. What I like about Study Sync is you're writing about what you're reading about. It's no longer two separate entities, so it's all together as one every day.
And then is that stuff shared with parents? I know, like, I have a young student, it's nice to see her writing.
Yep.
You know, is that accessible to the parents?
Yeah, because all that stuff will be turned in on Google Classroom,
Okay.
so, yep.
I like it. Sounds like it'll help with reading comprehension,
Yes.
like a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
My only question is pretty simple. I know there's lots of platforms out there. What about this platform made you say this is the one? Just real.
For me, when we first saw the demonstration, it was the ease of the use and how, for example, the language piece,
Yep.
you just click the one button and it flips over to a different language, and it's engaging. It's really like updated.
Mhm.
It looks like something that kids would be drawn to.
Okay.
So.
I have
Yep.
one last question. What about renewal costs after the 6 years? Do they have estimates for how much it would cost beyond that?
No, and we would go through another, because in 6 years, hopefully not, but in 6 years, we have a new set of standards.
Sure.
So we would then have, so we revisit every 6 years. We have a textbook adoption cycle.
I just worry
So-
about stuff like that
Yeah.
sometimes you get in and then, you know, you're so used to it, and then they come at you with a $200,000 bill for the next 6 years because they've updated their technology and we're kind of wrapped up in it, and now we have to abandon it simply on cost. It would be great to know if they have some ideas of what that might look like. How new is it? When was it released? Is this something brand new?
This is 2020, I think.
Yep.
2020.
Are there any other local districts using it that you guys know of?
Yeah, he did give me two, and I
Okay.
can't tell you right off the top of my head who they are.
That's okay.
But they did. He did give us two districts. Because, and Jordan can kind of speak to this, with our
Yep.
elementary adoption, we had Milford.
Yep.
Milford, they have been using the textbook that we adopted at the elementary for a few years, and they came out and actually met with our teachers for a couple of hours.
Yeah, that was
Last year.
probably the best, most
Wow.
authentic PD we could have had.
Milford actually came out?
They
Yeah.
Oh,
came,
wow.
yep.
Yep.
They had 2 or 3 teachers come.
Yep.
That, to the primary and here, and spent a couple of hours with our teachers.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yep.
So that was one thing that Jordan.
Yeah, that was my one question for her too, was if we could meet with schools that are using it already. It's just really nice to get like an authentic take on it versus just a traditional PD, so hopefully we can do that.
I'm glad you took that step.
Yeah.
That's
That
important
was-
for sure.
Yeah.
From your
With the
peers.
renewal
Getting a
piece.
sales pitch when you get.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be perfect
Absolutely.
from them.
With the renewal piece, there's a number of companies that do it, and they're very competitive, so they're not going to hike the prices way up because they know you'll just go to a different
Yeah.
company.
And
They
then it'll be our
want to keep
business.
your business, repeat business, and they all copy off each other, so there's not a ton of differences.
Wait a minute, plagiarism between the
So there's not a
writing
ton of
company?
differences between the different programs.
No. Cool, looks good, and the presentation looks nice as well, whoever put that together.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much for the time.
Sure.
It's very
Thank you.
informative.
Thank you.
Appreciate it
Thank
very
you.
much.
Sure.
Motion.
All right. Moving on to section 6, treasurer's business. Mrs. Cahall, you're up.
Okay. I'm asking the board to approve the minutes from February 16th and February 28th.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.2.
Okay, next I'm asking you to approve the treasurer's financial report for February 28th.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. A little slow today, Tim.
I know.
Step it up,
Yeah. I need to drink some more coffee.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'd like to report how we might be ending the year, but today I got some news that I shared with Robert too, that Rocky Express is is filing a tax complaint about their value. We get $1.5 million from Rocky Express. It's tangible personal property tax. So $1.5 million makes up the $3 million. We get a total of 3. One's Duke and one's Rocky. So The Warren County auditor called me and said, we're not getting the taxes that you're expecting because they filed a tax complaint. They did pay $400,000, but we won't get it until next year. But so we're going to be less than projected in our personal property taxes, and we may be the same. We may be a little bit less in our real estate because I'm still getting it in. So what I was reporting before looked like we were going to end the year a little bit more positive, but that's disturbing news, and you don't see that coming. And I don't know why their property was valued fine for 10 years, and then it's a problem.
Did they say, is there a reason why
they just want to pay less taxes?
Of course.
Okay. Is there a reason why? No, they didn't say.
There was no explanation, they just said.
I reached out to Matt Nolan, because it's the Warren County auditor, and he said, long story short, it sounds like we'll probably eventually get the money, but it might be delayed. He goes, I've never heard of a business like this losing value if it's been at that value, but as long as they're contesting it.
Well, it could be 2 or 3 years that they don't pay as they're contesting it, but I did contact Rich Gillis, that's our attorney, who helps with our property tax complaints, and they're investigating that.
So that's the total amount that they would wait, or just the specific amount that they're? What they pay us every year is $1.5 million, and they want to half it to $700,000. So will we get zero while that's in? Well, we're going to get 400 because they happen to pay 400, but we could get. Well, they're supposed to pay on what the contested value is, actually, what they want it to be. Right. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, it sounds like they'll pay what they think their value is. And then if it gets through and the complaint is filed as not void, do they pay that in a lump sum in a time frame? Say they owed us $3 million over that time frame, but they didn't pay?
I don't know. I've never had experience with that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they will have to pay, but
I'd be interested if it's a lump over 3 more years, or.
And then they're supposed to be fined when they don't meet the due date. So I mean, that kind of
So
thing.
it could end up being more money that they owe us eventually over time.
Could be, later on.
When and how much.
But we were happy that our tax revenue went up, and this offsets it. Yeah, it cancels it.
Gotta love curveballs. Well, I'm going to give the Butler County auditor and tell him I'm going to pay half of my valuation next year and see how that goes. For the rest of my life, I'm going to do that.
I did reach out to Springboro because they get money from them too, and I haven't. That was late, so I didn't hear from her. But maybe we'll get our Steve Wilson involved and our not attorneys, our reps and whatever. So we'll see. But that's really all I want to share right now because that's the big thing, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So
that's all I'm going to share right now.
No problem.
Because the report I had was different than what.
Well, obviously, that throws a little wrench into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.3.
Next, I'm asking the board to approve the bond fund report.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Mr. Fulham.
Jeez, there.
All right, it's all yours.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Oh,
excuse me.
Yeah, you just want to tell us.
Oh, yeah, well, I need to call. I'm sorry, I'm so disturbed by this. Anyway. Okay, and we did not receive any revenue in the bond fund, and the ending cash balance was $3,028,301.
Is all the money where it's supposed to be?
Yes, it is.
Any other questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.4.
I'm asking the board to approve the job description for the assistant treasurer position.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. I was going to say, don't get bashed for now.
This is not an additional staff person. This is defining a position that someone's been performing for a while, and so, anyway, we're formalizing it.
Okay. Any questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.5.
I'm asking the board to approve school fees for 2023.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Carpenter.
Are the fees,
They're relatively the same
Okay.
from the year before.
okay, no
So-
real big changes?
No, not really, no. So,
Any questions?
No, I just like to keep the fees as low as possible. And I looked at them and they all made sense, so.
yes. Which surprised me because inflation's sending
Yeah.
things up, but we'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.6.
Okay, next, I'm asking the board to approve the official certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year 2023.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Okay, and what this is this is issued by the Butler County Auditor, and it's based on the tax budget that we submitted, and it's, it's an agreement that we expect to have these resources for next year, for beginning July 1 through June 30th. And this is the first one, but there'll be amendments and changes, and there will probably be a change now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what this is. It's a formal way of telling us, and us agreeing that these are the tax receipts we're going to be getting for next year.
Okay. Any questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.7.
I'm asking the board to approve a revised cash reserve policy, so there's 180 days in cash reserve, and this would be, okay.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hagedorn. What is the current policy now?
Well, current policy is only 2 months.
Okay.
And we get all, at the moment, since we are capped, we get most of our money through taxes, and we get a big chunk in the fall and a big chunk in the spring, and it's hard to make it between, when you're low on cash, you have to start cash flow borrowing. We don't want to do that because the interest is really high, and I did that when I first came. And so this would allow enough time. We would look at it on our forecast, and when we see we're getting to that point, then we would start talking about a levy, and that's what this is about.
Okay. Any questions?
Does the update with Rocky Express change anything about your recommendation or how we would approach it?
No, you mean change this policy, change it to suggest to change, no, it doesn't.
Because that money would go into this fund, though, right, or no?
Yeah.
This just is saying
Yeah.
that
Well,
at the end of the year, you want to have this many days spend the cash.
Right.
Yeah,
Right
you
now,
have 6
current
months.
policy is
Yeah.
But isn't that
Right now,
tax
it's
money
2
that
months.
we're potentially not getting
Well, we will
part
get
of
the-
what that would make? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that'll less what we get in the fall, and that'll less than what we get in the spring, but we get 11 million in taxes, so that's 700,000. I think it'd be,
Any questions? Anything? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.8.
I'm asking the board to approve a transfer of $2,500 from the Junior High Student Council to Junior High Principals Fund, and this was requested by the Junior High Student Council Advisor. And
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
I have a question.
what?
Do we know why the transfer? I'm
No.
just curious, like.
Well, maybe the Junior High Principals Fund was a little low, and they're contributing, they work together.
Okay.
I don't know
I
exactly
bet it's
what.
something to do with prom.
Pop,
Oh, junior high.
Junior High
That's it.
Student
Junior
Council,
high.
yeah. I didn't ask them, but all transfers have to be approved by the board. but anyway, no, but they're good friends, so they know what to do.
Mr. Stanger is home because it's
May
his.
have been from their dance project. We used to do that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
the junior high person, we kind of have a ton of fun coming into it. And so we always do things with teachers and for kids. For instance, we do a lot of principals now. They would just, they do a fundraiser and they would go to go back to the community.
Yeah, the junior high, they don't have an active real PTO to contribute to that. They don't get parking pass money, which the high school one gets. They get some, yeah, they get book fare. So they're really struggling. And I don't know why they just didn't try to just pay it out of the student council, but there's some reason they want to do that. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. That's a good question, though. Okay.
Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Kale.
Thanks.
Section 7, Superintendent's update.
All right, I've got 3 quick items I want to talk about. First, testing is in full force here. I'm sure parents are aware. Elementary started it's actually been going on about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They're finishing up math and then a lot of makeups, science the following week, but they're well into it and actually kids are doing great. I know it's very tiring for them, but they've been focused, and I know Mr. Ward and the teachers are doing a great job with them. Junior high and high school, English started last week. The late arrival for high school starts tomorrow, and they'll be really into their testing for the next 2 weeks. And so, again, just make sure you feed your kids some breakfast, send them off to school. They'll be doing their testing first thing in the morning. They did rearrange the way they did the testing schedule for junior high and senior high, and I think it is a much, much better way of doing it. It was kind of testing all over the place all throughout the day, and now it's first thing, same routine each morning. I think that'll help the kids do a lot better. Next thing I want to talk about is this weekend is the production of Annie. There's 4 performances over the weekend, starting Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. I have to say I have snuck in and watched a number of the practices, and those kids are so talented. I can't wait. I've got a busy weekend, but I'm going to try to get in there at least to see one of them. There is a special acting debut of a certain high school principal's dog that will be Sandy. We have teased Mr. Prohaska that he's become quite the stage mom, and but he is actually, so Sandy is a real dog, and his dog Baker is making his acting debut. So
Bought my tickets for Friday.
I'll be there Friday as well.
And the last thing I want to talk about is it is spring has sprung, and seniors, I know this time of year with senior students, things, they are often not focused on the remainder of their school year, but on all the other fun things they're doing. And I know Nerf Wars are beginning. For those of you that are not aware of what Nerf Wars are, it is just a friendly competition with kids. They have teams, and they try to eliminate each other, taking them out with like the Nerf guns. I have seen Nerf guns or Nerf Wars where the kids have an absolute blast. It is great, a fun time, a lasting memory for seniors that they, this big thing. And then I've also seen Nerf Wars that have ended up with kids being charged with criminal charges, and that is a big hamper. So what I'm asking and pleading for parents and senior students, use common sense, do the right thing, have fun. You've only got a few months of school left. Make the best of it. So that's my public service announcement on Nerf Wars.
Love Nerf Wars.
Yes, they're fun.
Yes.
Can you get in on that?
All right. Section 8, Superintendent's personnel business. Yeah, we'll have a board team.
Can we get a board team together? I don't want some. Is that frowned upon?
Yeah.
Shooting at me and stuff. Yeah.
Laying in my yard at 6:30 in the morning.
I can't keep up with that.
Getting pelted.
No.
All right, item 8.1.
8.1 is resignations. Recommended that the board approve the following resignations.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions?
I'm sad to see the long list, but I understand.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who headed a team or helped out in any capacity. It's always sad to see people go for different reasons, but thank you for your time.
Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.2,
It's recommended the board approve the following substitutes.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Tim Beyond. Tired of it.
Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.3,
It's recommended the board approve the following extracurricular contracts.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.4,
It's recommended that the board approve the following employees for a salary degree increase.
May-
Another couple teachers improving their education.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Congratulations to those two. I didn't even think when she was here to congratulate her.
It's awesome.
Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.5,
It's recommended the board approve Pam Miller for the summer secretary position. This is just to keep someone in the office. High school, there's work permits, there's things going on in the summer. Mr. Catanzaro, if I remember correctly, this is the last time we'll have to do that. We rolled it into the contract, so it's just part of her. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions?
Nope, thanks, Pam. Appreciate all you do.
Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.6,
It's recommended the board approve a retroactive pay for a resident educator mentor payment to Becky Eschmeyer. Apparently, it was back a number of years ago. I don't know if she discovered it or Jesse discovered it.
She did.
So she discovered or felt like she wasn't paid for continuity bonus, $500.
Yeah.
And then, so when I was backtracking, to double check everything, I go to the place
Yeah.
and we
Okay.
actually sorted her.
Yeah.
So we decided to talk to Holly.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for the explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad that was caught.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mrs., I guess we need a motion. Yes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any other questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And item 8.7,
The approval of 4 new positions starting next school year, and as you can see, those are just, honestly, those are all positions due to growth.
I guess we need to change this to 4. And this should say, there's a clerical
says
error.
6.
Yeah, we had clerical error there, 4.
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
I'm just gonna-
I was like, are there two?
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
change it.
I didn't know if there was,
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was multiple.
You don't see the other two on the, what's wrong with you?
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Fulham? Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter? Wait, excuse me. Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And item 8.8,
It's recommended the board approve 5 positions for the 2 years we paid out of ESSER. Those are additional positions that we will be adding. We are using ESSER funds for those positions. At the end of the 2 years, when the ESSER funds are gone, that's the time we will evaluate. Hopefully at that point, we're uncapped. If we still need them, we can continue them, but otherwise we'll continue to, or at least less capped.
Yeah.
That's our hope.
Let's go.
And it is for 5 or 7?
7.
It's 7.
Okay. There's a typo down below.
Clerical error.
So,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get clarification.
Oh, yeah, 7.
Okay.
Yeah, we can switch, I'm sorry, we just switched back.
No worries. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. And you did say these are going to be being paid out of ESSER funds?
Correct.
2 years.
Yep. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Will these be through the ESC?
Nope.
Nope, these are direct hires? Okay.
Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And Section 9, Superintendent's Other Business.
First section, donations, recommended approve the following donations. Again, very generous community members and businesses.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And item 9.2.
It's recommended the board approve the early graduation of these Monroe High School students. They have been working and they finished up all their coursework. They are ready to enter the workforce. So congratulations to them.
Absolutely. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions?
I have a question. It seems like at our last board meeting, we approved early graduation. I remember talking about that. Is this something that is ongoing that happens, or is it like once a year, twice a year, they can graduate early?
We have some students in the program that they are completed with almost all of their coursework. They have a little bit of online coursework that they have to finish, and it's kind of motivation. If they are a lot of them have full-time jobs, and they are trying to get this done, and it's motivation for them to get that and get that diploma. So they're very excited to finish that coursework. So.
Okay.
And I think what you're talking about, like at the beginning of the year, we
Yeah.
had some that graduated, they finished that semester pretty early.
Yeah, we do have
Right.
a lot of times they will finish the semester, and we'll have a number of them at the end of the semester.
Yeah, I think there was 2 at that time, but they will still
Right.
walk in.
They still walk, okay.
Yeah.
So do they?
All of these have opportunity to walk, absolutely.
Right. Is it visited after like every quarter? Like who's completed?
Just as they are, these
Or as
students,
they get
as they are
their-
completing their coursework.
As they get their work done? Okay. Right.
They're kind of in a unique program, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.3.
It's recommended the board approve the 3-year salary schedule for administrators. As you remember, we settled with the teachers back in November. It's for next school year, so we are approving the salary schedule with the same increases for the administrators. And the next one is for the central office staff as well.
Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And then item 9.4.
It's recommended the board approve a 3-year salary schedule for central office staff. Again, this wraps up all non-union members, so.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs.
Second.
Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Then item 9.5.
It's recommended to approve the Learning A to Z contract This is going to be paid out of Title I funds, $27,952. This is an annual contract? Yes.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions?
Is this the standard or same amount year after year typically, or right around that same amount each year?
Yeah.
Yes. No increases or anything?
Well,
Or no significant increases, I guess?
this is out of a grant to
okay.
572, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, we like those.
Probably likes them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of them,
We all.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 9.6.
It is recommended the board approve the replacement of the stadium field house roof for $36,000. This will come out of the PI fund. It's got information about the vendor. Jesse said they're hoping they can get it in between track meets, so. Good.
What are they thinking, about a week to get it done?
3 days on the building, 2 on install, and so we'll play the weather game to make sure we're staying around track.
Good.
Are they tearing everything off and going down the deck?
Complete replacement. How long is estimated that this will last, does it say?
I think it was
Should be at least 30 years, or most of them now are lifetime.
Really?
Does it have it has a warranty on it, obviously, for 30-year warranty?
If it's installed properly.
if we can make it through the wind.
I can come up when it's being installed.
Or if there is a wind tunnel.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Other questions?
Sorry.
Mrs. Gale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 9.7.
It's recommended the board approve the agreement with INVO for the 22-23 school year to provide occupational therapy, $58 an hour, 40 hours a week, $48.50 for the OTAs, 28 hours per week. It is a slight increase, but that is not bad compared to, the cost of inflation. So occupational therapists, most districts outsource those because the needs change every year. And if you hire somebody and then we don't need as many hours, then, we have extra. So the way to outsource it, Nancy, I know, does a great job working with the special education staff to get the number of contact hours they need so she can budget for the following year, so.
Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Okay. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 9.8.
It's recommended the board approve the job share proposal between Dana Trammell and Sarah Stanger to split a junior high intervention specialist position. This is just per contract. It has to be renewed annually. It's not a new job share. This just gives us the ability to evaluate it every year and say, is it still working and is it still beneficial to the district? So, and in this case, we think very much so.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
I'd like to say thank you for that clarification, so I was
Yes.
going to ask that question.
Yes. It just gives us the authority to say, you know what, this doesn't make sense for the kids, or it's costing the district more money, or whatever reason that we have the ability to say, no, we're not doing it anymore. You either come back full-time or resign. But in this case, it's very, the teachers do a great job. It's beneficial to the district and the kids, so.
Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 9.9.
The final one is just the upcoming events, if you want to check the calendar out there. I shared, Annie's this weekend, that's the big thing going on, and I encourage everybody to get your tickets.
Very good. All right, thank you, Mr. Busker. Moving on to Section 10, Board President's Business. Item 10.1, it is recommended the Board approve a 5-year contract for Mr. Robert Buskirk as Superintendent. The contract will begin August 1st, 2022, and shall run through July 31st, 2027. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. I'll be the first one to say it's my pleasure to have you in Hornet Country through 2027. So for you and your family to be Hornets, we're looking forward to great things to come in the horizon.
I'm very excited. When I took the job, it was new to me, but once I got here, I knew this is where I wanted to be. And now you're not just getting me, you're getting my whole family. So, I'm going to be Monroe through and through. Glad to be here.
I just want to echo Dave's comments 100%. And, even before I was on board and the transition was going on, from the moment we got a chance to meet, I was really excited to know our district was in the right hands. So the board did a fantastic job in hiring you in this position, and publicly, now that you've said that your girls will be joining us next year, really thrilled that I've seen them at some games. I know they have a lot of friends here through athletics, and we're always excited to grow with new people who are going to bring great things to the district, and I have no doubt that the Buskirk girls will do that along with Mom and Dad as well. So welcome, and thank you for staying with us for a few years.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you, and welcome Buskirk family to the Hornet world.
Now you can't get away from this, Robert.
Okay, I don't want.
But thank you very much. You've been a pleasure to work with, and I look forward to working with you for the next 5 years.
Yep. A lot of great things to accomplish.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried.
Congratulations, Robert.
Thank you.
All right, before we go to item 11, adjournment, we will start with
Me?
Mrs. Hagedorn.
Ladies first.
Yes. Any comments from the board members?
So I have a few. So I'd like to say what Robert had mentioned earlier, or AJ, sorry. Great job for the freshmen on the Hornet Serve Day on March 1st. The kids went to Camp Lebanon, and they served breakfast on Mount Pleasant. Some stayed here at the school. I actually went to the Monroe Church of God for lunch. That was actually really cool. They gave everybody Jimmy John's. So I sat there and met some of the elder volunteers from the city of Monroe. I sat with somebody there, talked with them, met the kids. They actually came down and sat down and chatted with me. I got a couple, they made cards, said thank you for your service. So that was real nice. It was a really good time. I enjoyed meeting the kids and talking to them. And a couple of them were very quiet, so you had to kind of start the conversation. But it was a good experience all around. I also wanted to talk about I went to the band and choir concert. It was early March. That was really neat to have the combination of the choir and the bands performing all at the same time. The auditorium was filled with people, and I just kind of snuck in the back and watched. That was really, really interesting to see. The chorale choir received a superior rating, and they're headed to state on April 30th, so that's pretty impressive. So maybe we'll get them to come in and be recognized at one of our meetings here. And the Sounds of Sundays was this past Friday. I was unable to attend, but I was really kind of jealous that I wanted to be, because I'm a band person at heart, so I'm kind of into the whole music thing. And then another thing was, as Robert mentioned, we toured the Butler Tech building that's going up. That was actually pretty fun and interesting. It was just the bones, but you could see and envision what it's going to look like in the future. And Annie's this weekend, so I'm excited to go see Annie. So that's all that I have.
All right. Thanks. AJ?
All right, it's high fives around the hive. Who's excited? All right, high five to Becky Taylor and Kevin Taylor and all of our volunteers who made the inaugural Monroe Elementary School PTO Mother-Son Dodgeball Tournament a great success. There were 39 teams that competed and helped raise funds for the PTO. Congratulations to all of our participants who I know are already looking forward to next year's tournament. I actually got to attend, so it was a lot of fun for the kids and moms and everybody involved. High five to Mr. Brinkman and the entire Monroe Band program for a wonderful evening of music and ice cream at this year's Sounds of Sundays. The concert showcased all of our band students in grades 6 through 12, which featured a piece performed by all 286 band members. Go Band. High five to the Monroe Athletic Booster Club, who hosted their second annual Bingo Night fundraiser. We have a tremendously dedicated group of parents who helped organize the event, so thank you for all of your efforts. Also, thank you to all of the volunteers, including members of our baseball and cheerleading programs, who helped with setup and work the event. It was a fantastic night for the entire community, and my wife did win a bingo, so that was exciting. We didn't get to collect on it because it's a date night and none of us have time. But my mother and father-in-law, I think, are going to go. High five to the Monroe Choral Choir, who earned a trip to the OMEA state competition after earning a superior rating at the district OEMA large group contest. The state competition will be held on April 30th. So great job to all involved and good luck at state. Can't wait to hear about that. And that's my high fives from around the hive.
Awesome.
It's a new record, baby.
Just thinking about you, TC.
You know what? You get a high five.
Ooh, high fives are out.
All right, Mr. Carpenter.
My turn. All right. So, as previously mentioned, the Sounds of Sundays, Misty and I went. Lucy's in the 6th grade band, and they did fantastic. And Hazel's in the concert band, and they did really well. It was enjoyable. Greta was excited to get ice cream, so we were able to curb her enthusiasm with some ice cream. But yeah, it was put on really well. The kids sounded fantastic. They were able to play some music from video games, so they had a great time doing that. Misty and I also attended the band competition out at Fairfield High School, and we weren't able to stay for the symphonic band, but we were able to witness the concert band. Kids, again, they did fantastic, and so big shout out to Luke. He's done a wonderful job with the band since he's been here, and you know, I really look forward to seeing those kids out on the football field or at basketball games or, you know, at their concerts. Like he's done a really good job, and Cinda was there too on Friday evening. I saw her just tearing it up. So it's true. And then winter sports is over. I did see Alex Pitt. She was the first team All-State for his weight class for Division III. So that's really, really amazing. So as a wrestler, I understand how hard that is to get that recognition. So for him to break his leg during football season and bounce back and to do as well as he did, like, that is just absolutely amazing. Like, he is, like, that is just impressive. His sister was here, you know, getting recognized with the cheerleaders, like that. His dad's a wonderful guy, like, wonderful family. So congratulations. And then spring sports started. I saw baseball out there playing. I saw softball out there playing. So I can't wait to get up here, watch some baseball and softball this spring. It's going to be wonderful. I don't think I have anything else.
Got track and field, lacrosse. It's exciting.
Oh, I saw lacrosse beat Franklin.
Lacrosse is 2-0 or 3-0.
Yeah.
Wildcats.
All day.
Go Hornets.
You guys have touched base on just about everything. The only thing I will add is I know, again, I'll say it, this year has flown. I mean, we're just a couple months away from graduation. So it's amazing to me how we're already through another school year. But yes, I think baseball opens up the official regular season tomorrow. The regular season tomorrow, varsity.
They're away.
Now they're at home tomorrow against Middletown.
Is that JV up there?
That's JV out there now.
Did they play tonight?
No, they opened up. They're away for the home.
The regular season
Wow.
starts tomorrow. That was all preseason games. So the only reason so varsity will be playing tomorrow, as well as softball and boys, opening up the regular season. No, Talawanda was tonight. That's a preseason game, and then official game is. So good luck to both the teams and our track and field teams this spring. And I am going to come up and watch a lacrosse game. I've watched a lacrosse game since I lived in Pittsburgh, so it'll be fun.
Ton of fun.
Yeah.
Those
so-
kids are awesome.
Yep.
So thank you to everyone who came in attendance. Thank you. Happy belated birthday. Yes. And, all right, with that said, it is recommended the board adjourn the meeting at 8:14. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham, and thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye. Funny guy.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried, and meeting adjourned.
Funny guy.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Funny man over here.